Over the years, Game Freak has come up with some creative or extremely annoying and stupid ways for Pokemon to evolve. There's the standard level up method, trait evolutions, the stone method, friendship method, leveling while knowing a certain move, and then there are more creative methods like Shelmet evolving into Excelgor if it's traded for a Carablast, and vice versa but evolving into Escavalier, or Sliggoo evolving into Goodra at level 50, but it has to be raining in the overworld, Rellor walking 1000 steps outside of its Pokeball and then leveling up to evolve into Rabsca. Or how about only being able to evolve in a certain game? The only way to evolve Meltan into Melmetal is to use 400 Meltan candies in Pokemon Go, and then you have to transfer it to home, to then transfer it to whatever game you desire. And I feel like I have to mention this one on principle, but Galarian Yamask evolving into Runerigus, I think I said that correctly. But I'll let you look that one up because it's pretty tedious as well, and I could go on and on about evolution methods. But to quickly cover Gholdengos, you have to explore the region of Paldea, collecting 999 Gimmighoul coins, and then level up your Gimmighoul, who's in the slow level up group I want to add, to finally get a Gholdengo. I want to freeze frame it on this sprite real quick so you can see it. This thing is really good. I didn't make it, it was made by Focos92 on DeviantArt, but I did make the back sprite. I personally still have not done this in Scarlet and Violet, and probably never will. But if you're a person that wants to go through all of that, or did go through all of that, I guess the next question you'd ask yourself, is it worth using? And I just want to note, I don't play competitive Pokemon, but I'm sure I'll get a bunch of comments about how good or bad it is in competitive. Go ahead and drop those below. But for Gen 1 purposes, the stats are pretty damn good. 133 special is outstanding, 84 speed is good enough, and the 87 HP and 95 defense are great. And don't look too much at that 60 base attack, because by the late game, we're going to be using an all special set anyway, and we get access to two of the best special moves in the game in Psychic and Thunderbolt, both of which Gholdengo can learn by TM or TR, whatever it is in Gen 9, so I'm not giving it some unfair advantage. And even with the new moves that we gave it, you might be surprised as to which is the most useful, but I'll touch on that as the time comes. I've added 4 new moves in Metal Sound, Shadow Ball, Power Gem, and its signature move Make It Rain. I did substitute a few moves, which is funny that this thing learns substitute by level up, but let's hop right into the run. You might think this Pokemon is going to do the bare minimum to Brock, but I'm actually going to be facing one extra bug catcher on top of the mandatory bug catcher, and this will allow Gholdengo to hit level 7 after it knocks out the Weedle and learn Nightshade. I'm also going to be taking on the Junior Light Years trainer for just a bit more experience before facing Brock. As one can assume, Nightshade is going to be my move of choice, and if I was one level higher coming into this battle, it would be a 4-hit KO on Geodude, but I do hit level 9 going into Onix. Since it is faster than me, I go for the turn 1 lick hoping for paralysis, which I don't get. And of course it goes for Bide the turn I use Nightshade. While I could have gone for a second Nightshade and hoped for a 2-turn Bide since I would have 1 HP left, I switched to Tackle and Lick before Onix releases energy, and from here, he just refuses to go for Bide until very late in the battle. But this time, I'm just gonna go for Nightshade, and that's the first badge down. While Palisand had PP problems on Route 3, Gholdengo doesn't, which is nice considering that thing's early game was pretty hellish. But let's pick things up in Mount Moon, where I'm going to be picking up a few optional battles. And watching the footage back, I feel like I overtrained a bit in this first run. We got the Super Nerd, the Grasslass, the Rocket Grunt who guards the Ether, and I can pick up Mega Punch in here too, this Hiker, and finally the Rocket Raticate Grunt. I take the Helix Fossil on my way out, and Gholdengo is level 16 entering Cerulean. And between Misty and Rival 2, I think it makes more sense to take on the Rival. That way I can go through Nugget Bridge and level up before taking on Misty. Pidgeotto does tag me with a total of 3 sand attacks in this one, which drags out the battle due to all the misses, but the only one of the Rival's Pokemon that can actually damage me is Charmander, and it does tag me with 2 Embers, one of which crits later in the battle, and a burn would have probably been GG's. But after I confuse it and it does some damage to itself, Gholdengo finally gets through the sand to land a Mega Punch to win us this one. And it's nice to not have to worry about PP so much on Nugget Bridge. Mega Punch provides neutral coverage against most Pokemon on the way to Bills. I have Nightshade for fixed damage and something against the rock Pokemon that I face on the way. And Lick, while extremely weak, is a high PP move, so it does have some use, along with Confuse Ray being an option for the annoying sand attackers. There really isn't much else to talk about, so we can pick things up in Misty's gym. Gholdengo is level 20 as it takes on the Water-type Specialist. If I was 1 level higher, Nightshade would be a 2-hit KO on Staryu as opposed to a 3-hit KO, and like with Brock, I level up after knocking out her lead. I have the opportunity to learn Substitute, but I forego learning this move. Nightshade is also a 3-hit KO against Starmie, and had this thing gone for Bubble Beam, we could be looking at a different battle, but it just goes for Water Gun 3 times, and Gholdengo claims victory. Let's jump ahead to the SSN. Unlike with Palisand, I'm going to be picking up Body Slam in this first run with Gholdengo, and if you're curious at home, I did play both Palisand runs first before these Gholdengo runs. No reason as to why, other than I personally like Palisand more than Gholdengo. I'm also going to be picking up the Gentleman Candy before battling the Rival, and like it did for Palisand's second run, Body Slam just speeds this fight up and gives us better damage overall over something like Nightshade, Lick, or Mega Punch. I don't get sand attacked in this one, and while Kadabra is the newest addition of Pokemon that actually have an attack that can damage us, it's just outsped in one shot. Charmeleon still only has Ember, and unless it were to crit and burn us, it isn't a threat, and things are about to get better for our Goldman once we defeat Lieutenant Surge and get access to a key TM. Voltorb is the lead, and since Body Slam doesn't one-shot, it could retaliate with Sonic Boom, which does a fixed 20 damage, but we just get an X speed followed by a tackle that can't hit us. Pikachu is next, and it's one-shot by Body Slam. I don't believe the crit mattered. And last is Raichu, and we're actually speed-tied with this thing, and I'm going to slow things down. Watch this sequence of events. Body Slam does about a third to it and gets paralysis on it, so from here I'm thinking we've got this in the bag, but not so fast. Raichu hits a Thunderbolt and paralyzes me right back. It wins the speed tie on the next turn, hitting and critting a Thunderbolt as Gholdengo can't move. It hits another Thunderbolt, bringing me to red health as Gholdengo once again can't move. I win the speed tie, but can't move due to paralysis the next turn, but neither can Raichu. But Raichu wins the next speed tie, hits a Thunderbolt, and gives us our first reset of the run. Things go much better in the next battle despite me taking a Sonic Boom from Voltorb. Raichu wins the speed tie going for Thunderbolt, which doesn't paralyze me, and I decide to open up with Confuse Ray, as Raichu hits itself the next turn and Body Slam brings it to about a third, and a speed tie goes my way with Gholdengo finishing off his ace. The prize is the TM for Thunderbolt, which I'm going to teach over Lick immediately, and we finally have a move to take advantage of that 133 base special, and Thunderbolt will come in handy against the 2 Slowpokes I need to face in Rock Tunnel, but of course I first have to face the Rapping Lass. Thankfully she doesn't cause any problems in this playthrough, although Poison Powder from the Oddish poisons me, even though I'm supposed to be immune to poison. I've had this happen in prior backports, and maybe I'll figure it out one day. One Pokemon I definitely overlooked within Rock Tunnel though is the first Pokemaniac's Cubone. I figured Nightshade would do more damage since Cubone is physically defensive, and its Bone Club manages to take me down to half HP, but that's all it can do, and the biggest threat in Rock Tunnel is down. The self-destructing hiker goes as you would imagine, and we can pick things up in Celadon City. Before entering the rocket hideout, I pick up the PP up that you can quickly get to cutting this tree. I want to pick up all 3 PP ups that I come across in this run. One important thing to note in the rocket hideout is that Gholdengo hits level 28 against the lift key grunt, and at level 28 it can learn Metal Sound. If you're unfamiliar with this move, in modern Pokemon it lowers special defense by 2 stages, which I've coded it to greatly lower the opponent's special. This move is going to be a game changer. Giovanni isn't a tough battle, but had I went to Saffron and gotten Psychic before coming here, it would have been much quicker. I would have been able to one-shot his rock types with it instead of having to use Nightshade over and over against them. Kangaskhan and its 40 base special hang on from a Thunderbolt per usual, but a second knocks it out. After completing the hideout, I do head to Saffron to pick up the TM for Psychic, and then head back to the Celadon gym. With Psychic on my learn set and a Pokemon that resists Erica's attacks, I don't see a point of putting her off. Victory Bell is first. Psychic doesn't one-shot, but it just goes for Wrap, which although it can't hit me, it can still trap me. That's Gen 1 mechanics at its finest. The remaining 2 Pokemon are also 2-shot with Psychic, with Vileplume wasting a bit of my time with Sleep Powder, but thankfully I'm only asleep for 2 turns and the flower stands no chance once I'm awake. Pokemon Tower time. The rival still isn't a challenge, and while this was unnecessary, I make sure to use 3 Metal Sounds on Execute, just so I can annihilate this annoying thing with Thunderbolt. I wanted to do the same to Charmeleon, but don't get the opportunity due to getting burned early with Ember. This battle will start to increase in difficulty starting with Rival 5. The only thing to note in Pokemon Tower, which is frustrating, is that after I hit the healing pad, I accidentally hold left for a step too long and run into this channeler. Another unnecessary battle. After Pokemon Tower, I head to Cycling Road next. I'm going to be picking up a few optional battles here, along with picking up the Hidden Rare Candy and PP up. My goal for this first playthrough was hoping that things wouldn't fall apart for Gholdengo in the late game, and that I wouldn't need to hit level 63 for Amnesia. That would be a pain to train to in the slow level up group, and I still have 2 gym leaders that have a type advantage against me in Blaine and Giovanni, although Giovanni in Red and Blue is a joke. He's a lot better in Yellow with 4 out of his 5 Pokemon actually having Earthquake. Blaine is also a lot better in Yellow as well, thanks to his Pokemon being at much higher levels and having all final evolutions. Anyway, I'm rambling a bit much here. After Cycling Road, I beeline it straight through the Safari Zone and then head to Koga's gym. The Tamers are a bit annoying because Thunderbolt doesn't one-shot the Drowsies, and Body Slam doesn't either, but nothing causes problems, and I know Koga won't either. Coughing number 1, one-shot by Psychic. Muck. Hangs on from a Psychic, but Koga just uses an X attack, and it has nothing that can hurt me anyway. Coughing number 2, one-shot by Psychic. Last is Wheezing. I go for Metal Sound to guarantee the one-shot. It goes for Toxic, Missing, and Psychic one-shots, an easy 5th gym badge. Silphco makes the most sense to head to next, because I'm still a bit under-leveled for Blaine. I'm going to immediately head to the 10th floor once I arrive to pick up an extra Carbos and Rare Candy. The experience points from the Grunt with the Machoke doesn't hurt either. After that, I'm going to beeline it straight for the card key and the battle against Rival 5. Pidgeot is first. It hangs on with a sliver from Thunderbolt, but thankfully just uses Wing Attack instead of something like Sand Attack. Against Execute, I want to go for Metal Sound to increase the damage of Thunderbolt. It uses a turn 1 Reflect, and Thunderbolt leaves it on a quarter, and it retaliates with Stun Spore, paralyzing me. I take it out and Gyarados follows. It gets off a Hydro Pump and Gholdengo one-shots it with Thunderbolt. Next up is Alakazam, and normally I'd outspeed this thing. It hits me with Confusion, I get caught in Paralysis, Confusion again, and Body Slam connects and paralyzes Alakazam. Because of this, I am once again faster, but I get caught in paralysis as it gets in a final Psybeam to chip me down some more before I finish it and move on to Charizard. I expected the battle to be over from here. Its Ember does half of my remaining HP as Thunderbolt leaves it on low red health. But then, Lady Luck shines for Gholdengo, as the rival uses a retroactive potion on his ace. Paralysis doesn't affect me this turn, and Thunderbolt finishes it. The following Giovanni battle is simple. Psychic decimates his team, and none of his Pokemon have attacks that can hit me thanks to my typing. However, Sabrina's Pokemon can hit me and crit often. Kadabra is first. Body Slam doesn't one-shot, but it does inflict paralysis, and Kadabra can't move due to the status condition, allowing me to knock it out. Mr. Mime's only damaging move is Confusion, but it elects for Light Screen and Barrier. 2 Body Slams leave it on a sliver, and Sabrina heals it with a Hyper Potion. From here, I decide to just use Metal Sound 3 times and knock it out with Thunderbolt. I was worried about Stun Spore from Venomoth, but it just goes for Leech Life, doing 1 HP of damage, after barely hanging on from a Psychic, and last is her Ace. It outspeeds, going for a turn 1 recover as Body Slam does under half. It sets up Reflect the next turn, and Body Slam gets a critical hit to finish it. That was an easier battle than I thought it would be, but I don't think Blaine will be. I take on 1 optional trainer on my way to Cinnabar, this fisherman everyone calls Psych. I pick up the candies and vitamins within Pokemon Mansion, and there's really not much else to talk about, so let's just jump right into Blaine. This battle is going to be a highlight of why Metal Sound is such a good move for this thing. I go for it turn 1 on Growlithe as Ember does 10 HP of damage and I knock it out with Thunderbolt. I didn't want to get trapped by Ponyta's Fire Spin like I did with Palisand, so I go for Thunderbolt right away and get a critical hit to knock it out. The next 2 Pokemon are where Metal Sound is going to shine, but it misses against Rapidash, who also misses Fire Spin. Metal Sound hits the next turn as Fire Spin connects, and while it lasts 4 turns, really 5 thanks to the retroactive Super Potion, at least Gholdengo outspeeds the Fire Horse, and Thunderbolt takes it out once my Goldman is free. I level up going into Arcanine and have the opportunity to learn Recover, which for this first run, I'm going to teach in the place of Body Slam. This move isn't going to have much use going forward. Against Blaine's Ace, I'm able to get off 2 Metal Sounds thanks to a turn 1 Super Potion, and you can see how much it weakens Fire Blast, which probably would have taken Gholdengo out had I not used this move, or if it crit. With its special at -4, Thunderbolt finishes off the legendary doggo. Viridian Gym time. Aside from the mandatory trainers, I fight this optional cool trainer with a Nidorino and Nidoking to get Gholdengo to level 43 over a damage rounding threshold. And now it's time for the final gym leader. No intro for him this week. It's unfortunate the only Pokemon of his that can hit me is Dugtrio, and it does have an opportunity to do so since Psychic doesn't one-shot, but Giovanni just uses a guard spec, in typical Giovanni fashion. Metal Sound on the Nidos guarantees the one hit from Psychic, and I should have followed suit against Rhydon, because it hangs on from a Psychic, but his Rhydon is trash in red and blue and has nothing that can hit me. Rival 6, however, is not trash, and his ace Pokemon now has Flamethrower. Usually this is a battle where I like to use my candies beforehand, but I really wanted to see if Gholdengo could go without them. Unfortunately, things start to fall apart in this battle at Execute. I go for Metal Sound twice to get better ranges with Thunderbolt, and in those 2 turns, it goes for Leech Seed and Stun Spore, paralyzing me. It hits me with a few Solar Beams that do next to nothing thanks to Metal Sound, but Parahacks are looking like they're going to be my undoing. Gyarados is an easy one-shot, just missing a Hydro Pump, and now we move on to Alakazam. I have to stall a bit on this thing. I'm going to go for Metal Sound early on to lower its special, so my moves hit harder, while its hit not as hard. However, Alakazam does crit me a few times, bypassing the status drop, so I have to go for Recover, and I'm going to need as much HP as possible for Charizard. Unfortunately, I'm only at half health when I move on to his ace, who moves first, and Flamethrower brings me to 5 HP, but it won't matter, because I didn't go for Recover. over. I'm fully paralyzed, and the Leech Seed damage finishes me. After another loss, I pop candies to go to 48/2 damage rounding thresholds. This time, when I get to execute, I just go for straight Thunderbolt to knock it out as quick as possible. While it is a 3-shot and I don't get paralysis on the eggs, I get a Stun Spore miss and a Leech Seed hit. Not having my speed cut by paralysis is definitely a huge plus, and I'm able to make it back to Alakazam with ease, and I get pretty lucky not getting any crits from it or a special drop from Psychic, but I do get confused by its Psybeam. And another thing to note here is that I'm actually speed tied with Alakazam, and the 9 turns in battle I spend with this thing, I win the speed tie 6 of them. Call it Aces Wild if you will. There's no speed tie with Charizard. I outspeed it as Thunderbolt brings it to low red health. It fires off a flamethrower, doing about half, as one more Thunderbolt takes it out. At the end of this battle, I level up to 49 and have the chance to learn Power Gem, which I teach in the place of Recover, and I'll touch on Power Gem in a little bit here. For now, I'm going to face 3 optional battles in Victory Road. This cool trainer, this cool trainer, and this cool trainer. This gets Gholdengo to level 50, and I have 7 candies in my bag in case things go south. Will it be a royal flush against the league? Lorelei is first, and one of the reasons I taught Power Gem was for her Jinx. It has great special but paper-thin defenses, and although Gholdengo's attack stat is nothing to write home about, I thought it would be good enough. But it's not. It barely hangs on and fires off an Ice Punch, but Gholdengo isn't punished with a freeze, and I move on to her ace, who because of her AI will only spam Confuse Ray because it sees it as super effective, and 2 Thunderbolts take out the Loch Ness Monster. Bruno. Agatha is next, and like with Lorelei, leave your cursor on the super effective move, Psychic in this case. While it doesn't one-shot her Gengars, they just go for Dream Eater the one turn they have in battle. She honestly put up about as much of a fight as Bruno did. Lance is last, and I really wish I could have said more about the Elite Four in this run, but they honestly just couldn't stand in the way of the Golden Boy. I'd say the Dragonairs might be the biggest threat on his team because of Dragon Rage and not being able to one-shot them so they can both get one off. And yeah, Aerodactyl does have Supersonic and Outspeeds, but it has 3 other moves that do absolutely nothing to Gholdengo, and the same is said about Dragonite. But while the league was uneventful, maybe the champion won't be. Pidgeot is first, and while Thunderbolt doesn't one-shot it, it just goes for Sky Attack, allowing me to take it out on the next turn. Alakazam is next, and once again I'm speed-tied with it. My plan was to go just straight Thunderbolt to knock it out as quick as possible, but it wins the first 2 speed ties going for Psybeam and Psychic, getting a special drop in the process. I pivot to Power Gem after the special drop, which knocks it out, and it's on to Rhydon. And I'm just going to spam Metal Sound on this thing, dropping its special to -6, but I'm also fishing for Leers or Tail Whips. I only get 1, and instead of continuing to waste time, I just go Psychic to take this thing out. Exeggutor's next, and it could waste my time with Hypnosis, but it doesn't. It just alternates between Barrage and Stomp as I use 3 Metal Sounds and then 3 Thunderbolts to take it out. Only 1 Thunderbolt is needed for Gyarados, and it's on to Charizard. And the nice thing is that we don't level up, so we still have that small badge boost from Rhydon. Metal Sound connects, greatly lowering Charizard's special as it fires off a Fire Blast, bringing me under half. And just picture how hard that could have hit had I not used Metal Sound or if it missed. I go for a second, expecting another Fire Blast, but it chooses Fire Spin, trapping me for 4 turns. And while Thunderbolt probably would have been the better choice here, the special drop was still lurking in the back of my mind. So I switched to Power Gem, one-shotting his ace. And a fitting end for this run is that Gholdengo levels up and can learn its signature move Make It Rain, but I just get through the text as fast as I can because the run is over. Gholdengo completes this first run at level 56 Onix with an in-game time of 3 hours and 3 minutes, with a real time of 48 minutes and 49 seconds. And honestly, I have a plan for this second run. There are still some things I'm going to pick up like Mega Punch and Body Slam, and the early game training helps for Brock just because of Nightshade using your level for damage. But watching back that first run, I battled way too many optional trainers, and I think there are only 2, maybe 3 that I will take on in this second run. Being in the slow level up group, I can use candies instead of battling, but I don't think I need to pick up every candy like in my first playthrough. But let's see what I could do in run number 2. As I previously mentioned, I think battling this bug catcher so that you level up to 7 for Nightshade against the mandatory one at the end of the forest doesn't waste a lot of time, and Nightshade will knock out Geodude faster than Lick. But remember in my first run when I mentioned that it's possible to lose to Brock? Well, I did in my second attempt. Onix just went for Bide twice in a row, and I was hoping for some paralysis luck with Lick, but didn't get it. And because I didn't save before Brock, I had to start over. If you're aiming for real time as opposed to game time, then you can just restart the run until you get by Brock with a time you're pleased with. I made sure to save before him in what I guess is my third run, and I get paralysis luck in this one. Thanks to that and Lick getting him under half health by the time Bide goes off, I can just Nightshade him down for the win. Because I've skipped all of the optional battles that I took in the first run in Mount Moon, I'm only level 13 for the Rival 2 fight, and because of my lower level, Pidgeotto is faster and fires off a sand attack, and it gets off a second later in this battle. This is a battle where I could have used my 2 candies in my bag to not only help me outspeed it, but get over a damage rounding threshold and increase the power of Nightshade. But I had my candies rooted and didn't think of this until now. Thankfully, I still first try Rival 2, Sand Attacks be damned. Jumping ahead to the SS Anne is where we pick up our second optional battle against the youngster who guards the TM for Body Slam while skipping the Gentleman Candy this time, and Surge in this third attempt is a first try victory. I don't get paralyzed or crit by Raichu, and still manage to paralyze it with Body Slam, along with it hitting itself once in confusion. 0 resets to this point. Jumping ahead to the Rocket Game Corner, this time I picked up Psychic before Giovanni, and this makes the battle so much faster. This second playthrough has mirrored the first in terms of gym order. I've just been cutting out all of the optional battles, but Sylph is where we take our third and final. I battle the Rocket Grunt who guards the Carbos and Rare Candy, because the experience gets Gholdengo to level 35, and like in the first playthrough, Rival 5 causes problems. I'm 2 levels lowered compared to run number 1, and once again, Execute paralyzes me with Stun Spore, and I have to 4-shot it with Thunderbolt. While I am able to get by both Gyarados and Alakazam with no problems, both are able to chip me down and I have half HP for Charizard. Its Ember does half of my remaining HP as I'm fully paralyzed, and this looked like it would be my first reset, but Gholdengo pulls through and Thunderbolt gets a critical hit to one-shot it with 9 HP remaining. Let's jump ahead to Pokemon Mansion. I never talk about this place. Well, now I have to, because I'm such a lower level, and I also didn't heal after Sabrina so I'm paralyzed. I run into a Wild Weezing and Muck, and due to my cut speed, I can't run on my first attempt from either, which is slightly annoying and time wasting. And I have to briefly mention Blaine, really his Arcanine, because this battle is close. I use Metal Sound to weaken the power of Ember and Fire Blast, and it goes for Ember, scoring a critical hit. And had this been a critical hit Fire Blast, that would have been GG's. I fire off a second Metal Sound as Blaine uses a Super Potion, and at this point, I didn't want to chance anything. I go for Thunderbolt, which leaves Arcanine on a sliver. It retaliates with Fire Blast, and Gholdengo hangs on with 21 HP. This battle was a bit too close for comfort. Now let's talk about Rival 6. I used 5 rare candies after Giovanni to go from level 43 to 48, and I feel like if you were going to root in extra candies, if you didn't use the 2 before the Rival 2 fight, you could do 2 more here to get to level 50 just for some better ranges and to tank attacks a little better. But you can see in this one, it's a bit of back and forth with me going for Metal Sound, using Recover, getting burned, and Charizard just firing off Flamethrower after Flamethrower after Flamethrower. But I do get its special to -4, and I take a chance, which Thunderbolt does what it should. I hit level 49 at the end of the battle, and I learned Power Gem once again, and I have one candy in my bag to use to hit level 50 after this battle. Remember in my first run how Power Gem didn't one-shot Jinx and I left myself open to an Ice Punch freeze? Well, Gholdengo takes a hit at the blackjack table and busts, getting frozen by Jinx for our first reset of the run. I tried Thunderbolt in the next battle just to see how much it would do because I know it's going to be a 2-shot, and even if I used a metal sound on turn 1, I don't think Thunderbolt would one-shot this thing. But Lorelei is a second try victory, and the only blemish going through the league. So now let's talk about the champion, and things give me a bit of a scare to start. Thunderbolt doesn't one-shot Pidgeot, and it mirror moves the electric type move. If this causes paralysis, I have no choice but to reset, but it doesn't, and I can move on to Alakazam. And this time, instead of attacking me, Alakazam just spams Reflect, and Thunderbolt can 3-shot it. And thanks to video editing, we're going to level up here because we just knocked out Gyarados heading into Charizard. I hit it with a metal sound for safety, and it goes for Fire Spin. Once I'm free from the trapping move, I choose Thunderbolt since its special is at -2, which gets the job done. Gholdengo makes huge improvements in run number 2. It finishes the game one level lower at level 55, with an in-game time of 2 hours and 42 minutes, shaving over 20 minutes off the first run's time, while shaving over 7 minutes off its previous real time, finishing with a time of 41 minutes and 23 seconds. Gholdengo is amazing in Generation 1. With its current time, it would find itself in the B tier above the legendary birds, but I need to replay them because I only gave them one run earlier in the year, and I think they can all move up a tier. Also, take the times to the right with a grain of salt. I know I need to do some rebalancing, and really I should be separating these back ports from the original 151, and I'll probably have a separate tier list for the originals. Just give me some time for that. Anyways, thank you for the continued support on the channel. I hope you enjoy these spooky season runs. Next week, we're going to see how the Gen 7 mythical Marshadow does in Generation 1. That will be an interesting one, so you won't want to miss it. Like I did with Palisand, and like I will be doing with all of the backports this month, I'm going to make the patch files available for you so you can run them yourself. And as always, if you get a better time with Gholdengo, let me know in the comments. I'll catch you in my next one. Take care, everybody.